long peace is over. For decades, one man was Kenyan opposition politics, Raila Amolo Odinga. Baba, the enigma, a political titan whose shadow touched every corner of the republic. But now, that shadow is gone. And while the nation mourns a hero, a secret, a brutal war is erupting inside his own political family, the Orange Democratic Movement. This isn't some quiet debate about honoring a legacy. It's a bare-knuckle fight for the throne itself. In one corner, you have the new generation of ambitious, fire-breathing leaders who think it's their time. While in the other, a powerful old guard backed or in favor of the current state, determined to keep control no matter what. This is the untold story of the war that won't just decide ODM's future, but the future of the opposition in Kenya itself. Welcome to the Kenyan Week That Was. I'm your host, DY. To get why the Orange Democratic Movement is in chaos, you must first understand the man who was the sun, moon, and the stars. Raila Odinga wasn't just a party leader. He was a force of gravity. For nearly 50 years, he was the face of opposition in Kenya. He was the center of the fight for multi-party democracy back in the 90s, a man who faced prison and exile for standing up to autocrats. He was a chief architect of the 2010 Constitution, the document that completely changed the name and the game by shifting power to the counties and strengthening our very courts. Raila was a master of political magic. One day he could rally mass protests that shook the government to its core, and the next, he'd forge a stunning political handshake that cooled the entire nation down. He tried for the presidency 5 times. And even though he never got the top seat, you could argue he was just as powerful as anyone who did. He built and broke coalitions with a skill that left his rivals confused and his allies in complete awe. ODM, the party he started in 2005, wasn't just a political machine. It was him. His ideas were its ideas. His strength was its strength. His word was a glue holding a wild mix of people, regions, egos, all together. His death, sadly, on October the 15th this year, didn't just leave a leadership gap. It opened up a political black hole. Suddenly, the undisputed compass of the Luo nation, the opposition's master strategist, and the country's kingmaker was gone. The massive political base he commanded from Nyanza to the coast and in the cities like Nairobi is now, for the first time in a generation, in my generation and your generation perhaps, a flock without a shepherd. You know, analysts had warned for years that ODM's biggest weakness was banking everything on one man. Now that weakness is a gaping wound. The party's first move was pure self-preservation. The National Executive Committee quickly named Raila's 82-year-old brother, Senator Oburu Odinga, as the acting leader. Publicly, they sold it as a move for continuity, unity, and stability. A steady familiar hand on the wheel of the ship in a storm. But, and a big but for this, under the surface, the tremors of power struggle were already starting. Appointing an elder statesman wasn't seen as a solution by many. It looked more like a temporary truce, a way to hold the ring while the real fighters sharpen their knives in the shadows. The long reign was over. The succession, and in this case, the succession war, had just begun. With Raila's unifying force gone, ODM isn't just one big family anymore. It has shattered into rival camps, each waving what they claim were Raila's final wishes, and each with a totally different vision for the future. And this isn't a simple two-way street. It's a messy, multi-sided war. First, you have the most powerful group, at least on paper, the establishment, the pragmatists. You could even call them state-backed elders. This camp is made of senior, long-time ODM leaders, many of whom now hold powerful jobs in President William Ruto's government. Key players include the influential Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga, who now serves as the ODM national chairperson, former Governor Hassan Joho, and former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya. Their argument is all but being practical. They insist Raila's last wish was for ODM to stay inside the government, working with President Ruto to keep the country stable and developing. For them, power isn't just about protests. It's about having a seat at the table where the money is shared and decisions are made. This faction is seen as having the quiet backing of President Ruto himself, who would much rather have ODM as a friendly partner than a loud enemy. On the opposite side, on the other hand, the opposite side are the radicals, the Young Turks, the opposition purists. This group is led by the sharp and often confrontational duo of ODM Secretary General Senator Edwin Sifuna and the fiery Embakasi East MP Babu Owino. They represent a younger generation of leaders who deeply are suspicious of any deal with Ruto's government. Their whole argument is that ODM's soul has always been and will always be in the opposition. For them, working with the government is selling out the party's brand and betraying its followers. Sifuna has been clear, saying Raila's last instruction was for the party to get ready to fight for the presidency in 2027 and to remain a fierce watchdog over this country. This group gets its energy from the party youth, city voters, and the defiant spirit that Raila himself once personified. Stuck between these two warring factions or two warring camps is a third group, the sentimentalists, or the legacy keepers. This faction includes respected veterans like Siaya Governor James Orengo and Kisumu Governor Anyang' Nyong'o. They have a lot of influence, but they are a bit older and maybe less interested in the daily brawls. The main goal is to protect Raila's bigger legacy, his fight for devolution, justice, and the constitution. They try to be the party's conscience, but their neutrality might mean they can't actually stop the impending fight or implosion. And then there's the fourth Messiah group, the political orphans. These are all the leaders whose careers were built and protected by Raila himself. In such a case, without him, they are lost at sea, forced to pick a side or risk becoming irrelevant. Their loyalty is up for grabs, and they go with whoever gives them the best shot at political survival. The house that Raila once built has now turned into a fierce battlefield. At the heart of the rebellion are two guys who represent a new defiant political energy. You know, the Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna and Embakasi East MP Babu Owino. They are the face of the Young Turks. They are the face of the Young Turk rebellion. And they are not waiting to be handed the throne. They are making a loud, public, and audacious grab for it. Edwin Sifuna, the party secretary general, is the brains of the operation. He is smart, witty, and a sharp lawyer who has made himself the main defender of ODM's opposition identity. Even before Raila passed, Sifuna was already warning that he'd quit the day ODM decided to back Ruto for his re-election. His defiant stance has made him a hero to young voters, including Gen Z crowd, who are sick and tired of old school political deals. Sifuna's point is simple. Raila's handshake with Ruto was a temporary truce to calm the country and not a marriage. He constantly pushes back against the establishment story, using Raila's own words against them. His strategy is to paint the pro-government faction as complete sellouts. Then you have Paul Ongili, better known as Babu Owino, or in recent past as Mwalimu. If Sifuna is a rebellion's intellect, Babu is its raw populist fire. He is bold, confrontational, and has a massive loyal following among young people in all or different cities. You can't deny his connections to the grassroots. The wild welcome he got at Raila's body viewing at Kasarani Stadium was a clear sign of his power or the control he has with his base. Babu isn't hiding his ambition. He's already made it clear he intends to run for Nairobi governor in 2027 with or without the ODM party ticket. That's a direct challenge to the establishment. Basically, a declaration of independence. He talks about the love for Baba, but at the same time, position himself as a natural heir to Raila's confrontational style. But Babu's path has roadblocks. People still worry about his hot temper and past controversies, like a well-known shooting case. To go from rabble-rouser to real successor, he needs to show that he has really matured and come around. Together, Sifuna and Babu are a huge problem for the establishment. They are tapping into a deep frustration within the party's base, a feeling that the old guard got too comfortable and too close to the government. Their fight isn't just about power. It's a battle for ODM soul. Now, the Young Turks are running up against the formidable power of the ODM establishment. The old guard, or the committee that was given out to Ruto's government. And these aren't just has-beens. They are a network of skilled political players who hold key jobs in the party and in the government that runs the country today. They are the pragmatists who believe the future lies in smart corporations, not noisy oppositions. The counter-attack isn't happening on social media. It's happening in boardrooms and state offices where real power is actually traded. Leading this charge is Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga. As the new national chairperson of ODM, she carries immense institutional weight. Wanga is a historic figure, the first female governor in Nyanza, which shows her political skill. Her argument is that she's just following Raila's final orders. Work with the president. Work with Ruto for the country's sake. She uses her position and her closeness to Raila to project an image of legitimate authority. She and other allies have even been floated as potential running mates for President Ruto's bid in 2027, a move that would cement their power. Alongside her are other giants in the party. Hassan Joho, the former governor of Mombasa, Wycliffe Oparanya, former governor of Kakamega, and now both of which hold senior position in Ruto's government, giving them access to state resources. They understand being in government allows them to bring home development projects and keep their regions very loyal. You have the likes of John Mbadi, the former party chairperson, who now serves as Treasury Cabinet Secretary, who is another quiet contender, known for his patience and crucially is said to have the blessing of the Odinga family, a powerful symbol of trust. Their strategy is pretty clear. First, they control the official party story, constantly pushing the message of unity and working with the government. Secondly, they are working to sideline the Young Turks. Behind the scenes, There are whispers about kicking Sifuna out of his Secretary General post and public warnings for young politicians to show respect and get in line before they are dealt with by the party. The appointment of Oburu Odinga as acting leader was a brilliant move by the old guard. At 82, he's a symbol of continuity, and it's hard for the younger guys to attack him without looking like they are disrespecting the entire Odinga legacy. He's supposed to be a unifier, but his appointment clearly tilts the board in favor of the conservatives. The old guard's message is simple. This rebellion is an utter waste of time. They argue ODM strength now comes from influencing government from within, from the inside. They are the incumbents in this civil war, and they are using every tool in the shed to crush the rebellion driven by Sifuna and Babu Owino or the likes. This war for Raila's throne is in some abstract debate. It's being fought right now on several different battlefronts. The first and the most symbolic was Raila's own funeral. In Luo culture, funerals are deeply political. Who speaks? Who sits where? Who gets cheered? It all sends a message. And Raila's burial was no different. It became a stage for the rival camps. The pro-government leaders used it to declare their loyalty to working with the state. But the thunderous welcome the youth gave Babu Owino, my God, was a raw display of the Young Turks' power on the ground. As Swahilis or Kenyans say, mambo kwa ground ni different. The funeral put the party's division on full display for everyone to see. The second battleground is behind the closed doors of party headquarters. The acting leader, Oburu Odinga, has been forced to call a crisis meeting to deal with all the public fighting and arguing. These meetings are intense. On paper, they are about by-elections or party business, but the real fight is over the party's direction for 2027. The conflicting statements that come out after these meetings will show that nobody is agreeing on anything and that the rift is actually getting wider. A third battleground is in the media. This is a war of stories. Governor Wanga and her allies went on TV to calmly insist that ODM must stay in government, just as Raila always wanted. A few hours later, Senator Sifuna will be on social media or another channel passionately arguing that Raila's last order was to prepare for an election battle. This back and forth just creates confusion and makes the party look paralyzed. Finally, and most importantly, the war is being fought in ODM strongholds. Raila's death left a power vacuum in key regions like Coast, Western Kenya. His personal influence kept everyone in line, but now loyalties are being tested. In Nairobi, the fight is obvious. Sifuna and Owino are building their own power base, threatening the old order. The war won't be won in Nairobi's boardroom alone. It will be won by whoever can capture the hearts and minds of party faithfuls out in the counties, in Luo Nation, in the Coast Nation. Those are the people whoever captures those hearts will come out victorious. To see the real danger ODM is in, you must now look at Kenya's own history. Politics has a funny way of repeating itself, and the ghost haunting ODM right now is a ghost of another great party that fell apart when its leaders died. Ford Kenya. This isn't just a history lesson. It's a chilling prophecy. Back in 1994, the opposition faced a similar crisis when Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Raila's own father, passed away. Jaramogi was the undisputed leader for Ford Kenya. And like his son, his personal authority was the glue holding it all together. And just like today, his death without a clear successor triggered a nasty power struggle. On one side, you had his son, a young, ambitious Raila Odinga. Many in Luo community just assumed he would inherit his father's position. But the party's old guard and its constitution pointed to Jaramogi's deputy, Michael Kijana Wamalwa. What happened next was a bitter, ugly fight that split the party down the middle. Raila, believing leadership had to be earned, challenged Wamalwa. Wamalwa, backed by the party's machinery, refused to budge. Sound familiar? Unable to win and unwilling to be number two, Raila did the unthinkable. He walked out. He left Ford Kenya, formed his own party, the National Development Party, or the NDP. And that act of rebellion is what put him on the path to becoming the giant that he was. But in the process, he shattered the opposition and morally or mortally wounded Ford Kenya, which never ever recovered. The lessons were brutal. When a party built around one person loses its leaders, the succession fight can tear it to shreds. Now, 3 decades later, the exact same script is playing out in ODM. You have the powerful establishment and the old guard clinging to a party structure, just like Wamalwa's camp. And you have the rebellious young faction, led by Sifuna and Babu, channeling the same defiant spirit that Raila himself once used. The warning from the past is crystal clear. If fights keep going on, the most likely outcome isn't a victory for one side, but a messy, ugly divorce that could cripple the opposition and hand the government an easy win in 2027. But here's the thing. While the leaders of ODM are busy fighting each other, they might be missing the real political earthquake happening right under their feet. The old rules of Kenyan politics, built on ethnic kingpins and powerful parties, are being torn up by new, unpredictable, and powerful forces. A youth-led opposition that lives online and couldn't care less about traditional party loyalties. The recent wave of huge youth-led protests against the cost of living, often called the Gen Z revolt, showed that a new opposition can pop up out of nowhere, organized on TikTok, X, and any other social media platform, with no official leader inside. These young Kenyans aren't waiting for orders from ODM. They are setting their own agenda, focused on issues that matter to them right now, like taxes and government accountability. Raila's death has completely created what analysts are calling an opposition vacuum. For decades, if you were angry with the government, you looked to Raila. Now that he's gone and his party is at war within itself, all that public anger isn't just vanishing. It's flowing somewhere else into this new decentralized movement. In a way, ODM civil war is a gift to this new generation of activists. Every headline about party infighting just makes the old guard look out of touch and reinforces the ideas that political parties are just about entities fighting for powers. This is a huge problem for whoever wins the fight for ODM. They might get the party's name and its offices, but they could discover they've lost the one thing that matters the most: the energy of the next generation. The Young Turks, like Sifuna and Babu, think they can connect with these young voters, but even they are part of the system many are rejecting. The old guard, with their backroom deals, and seems completely disconnected. Their danger for ODM is that it could become a relic, a legacy brand that still has a name recognition, but is no longer relevant to the culture. The real war for Kenya's opposition might not be the one inside ODM at all. It may be a fight between old school party politics and new school digital activism. The winner of the war for Raila's throne could end up ruling a kingdom that is already, and think about it, sadly emptied. All this internal warfare leads to one critical question. What does this mean for the 2027 election? The ramifications for a fragmented ODM are catastrophic for anyone hoping to challenge the current government. A splintered opposition fighting over scraps of legacy is the greatest possible gift to the incumbent president. Instead of facing a unified, formidable challenger, the ruling party could face multiple weaker opposition factions, splitting the anti-government vote and clearing an easy path back to power. This isn't just a political advantage. It is weakness. It weakens the very fabric of democratic accountability. But while the elites battle for the throne, they forget where the real power lies, with the people and the citizens of this great nation. The future isn't just decided in a party boardroom. It is decided in the voting booth. This is a rally call to the youth who have shown their power on the streets and online, and to the older generation who have voted for decades. Your voices have never been more critical. The most powerful, again I repeat, the most powerful protest, the most effective tool against an incumbent most likely that you oppose, is your vote, not just noise. Every single registration, every ballot cast counts. It sends a message that the people are the ultimate authority, not the politicians fighting for the crown. The 2027 election will not just be about who leads ODM. It will be a test of whether the Kenyan voter can rise above the infighting and make their choice and voices heard. The party is at a crossroads, and its very soul is on the line. On one side believes in quiet cooperation with the government. The other believes in loud, fierce opposition. Both say they are following Raila's true path and final instruction. So I have to ask you, what do you think is right, or who do you think is right? Is it the pragmatists like Gladys Wanga, or the fighters like Edwin Sifuna and Babu Owino? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have discourse. Let's discuss and find out who really holds and who is honestly telling us the truth about Baba's last words. Raila Odinga's death didn't just end an era. It detonated a civil war at the heart of Kenya's opposition. The Orange Democratic Movement, the house that Baba built, is now a battlefield. The old guard, backed by the state, preaches pragmatism from within the government. The Young Turks, channeling a rebellious spirit, demand a return to the streets. This is more than a succession battle. It's an identity crisis that threatens ODM's very survival. The ghost of Ford Kenya's collapse warns of what happens when such fights go unchecked. A split seems almost certain, which could leave Kenya without a real, unified, and true opposition, a dangerous prospect for our democracy. Whoever wins this brutal fight will inherit a broken party. They'll have to rebuild trust, unite the factions, and fire up a base that's watching all this in dismay. But the biggest test might come from the outside, from a new generation of activists who are tired of the old games. The winner could claim the throne only to find the kingdom has already moved. The next few months will tell us everything. Can the party reinvent itself, moving from movement built on one man to one built on strong ideas? Or will ambition tear it all apart? The war for Raila's throne has started. The only question is, when the fighting stops, will the winner be holding a crown or just a handful of ashes? Thanks for sticking with us through this breakdown of the war for ODM's future. If you learned something new, give this video a like. And more importantly, subscribe for more political stories that go beyond the headlines. The story of Kenya's opposition is changing by the day, and we will be there to track every, crazy or not, every move. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for having us, and thank you again. I want to express my complete gratitude for the 11,000 of you that have subscribed and continue to subscribe to this channel. It is an absolute pleasure to be able to produce this content and give you my insights or my thoughts on Kenya's political landscape. Again, I say, rest in peace, Baba. But as we mourn you, may God bless Kenya with great leaders that are selfless and sacrificial. Asanteni sana, I've been your host, DY. See you guys on the next episode.